It's okay.
I am so delighted to interview my next guest, who is giving me an opportunity to actually record mom moments on 95.5 The Fish. Gina Crabtree, 9-year-old son, media strategist for Salem Group, 15 years in sales. And I just found
Yes.
out prior to recording that she homeschooled her first grade son for a bit, and also had to do the your sales rep for surgeons, and then Clear
Mhm.
Channel Radio, Toshiba Business Solutions. She's moved, you said about 20 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a like, what?
I don't like to sit still. I guess that's part of it.
Newly engaged, she says, to a wonderful man, but she's also a stepmom to a, get this, 8-year-old, 13-year-old, 21-year-old, and also shared she is a grandma.
Yes.
Congratulations,
Yes.
Gina.
Thank
You
you.
are, this is the topic, balancing work and life.
Is that what
How do
it's
you
called? The
do it?
balancing? Very
Yeah,
good.
balancing. How do you do it? And what are your secrets to keeping sane, even though I
Oh,
know it's insanity?
that's okay. Well, I have a routine for morning. I have found that that has helped tremendously. Where if I get up about the same time every morning and I go through, the laundry and the picking up around the house so it's not so inundating later. And I make sure I get a workout in so that I can kind of center a little bit. And I make sure that that 9-year-old gets up and gets dressed and brushes teeth and does the breakfast. And I found a way to kind of from 5:45 in the morning to 7:30, 7:45 when he has to leave. So that's a good 2-hour window, right? As long as I follow that pattern every morning, I'm typically not terribly late. Not terribly, but it centers everything. And I am a habitual person, as most people are. So I find that I wrote down what I wanted to accomplish and I kind of checked it off in the beginning until it became a habit. And now it's just second nature. So I start my day every day the same way. And then when I come home, I kind of do the same thing so that because my son with ADHD and ODD, he needs that habit. He needs that strategy, right?
Mhm.
Consistency is key, not just in learning, but in everything he has to do in life. So if I can help him get that same type of mission accomplished in the morning and in the evening for bedtime, it seems like the rest of the day follows pretty fluidly.
Wow. So does it take discipline to get up at 5:45 when that alarm goes off? Do you just bounce out of bed? Do you do the snooze thing?
Oh yes, we're snoozing at least 3 times, at least. But I make fiance lunch so that he has something to look forward to throughout the day, and that gets me up. It gets me motivated to make sure he's well fed and he has a nice day because he's out early. He's in construction. So, I make sure that's handled and he's got a good day ahead of him. And then I can kind of put that out of my mind.
Hmm.
You always take care of the people you care about the most. So I make sure he's settled and then I move on to the little one. And once he's settled, now it's like, okay, what do I have to do? Because about an hour of that habit or that strategy in the morning is answering emails, getting things out of the way for work,
Wow.
making
So
sure
you're
I don't get
working as
inundated.
well. You're working
I
as
start,
well during that
yeah, I
time.
start work at about 6:15. Yeah, because we have the mainland side of the business, right? So I learned that when I was in medical sales, that when you have a corporate office not on the island, where some of our business associates are on the East Coast, they've already gotten a half day out of the way. So if I want to be a priority, I make it a priority for myself.
Wow. So you're
Yes.
gonna have to start, yeah, because at 6:15 a.m., starting March 14th, it's gonna be 6 hours, right? So don't you love that?
Right.
Those 6 a.m. meetings.
Yeah. I've done those before. Believe it or not, they don't really
Yeah.
take into account that we're on the island in the middle of the Pacific, that we're 5 hours time difference. So yes, I got very used to kind of working around the clock. Even though I'm not on call anymore, a predominant amount of my business is still medical. That was why I was hired.
Oh,
So I was hired to market for physicians and hospitals. And it was a vertical market that they hadn't been too successful in here because it does take a certain person to understand how to be that liaison between the two.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
doctors, I don't know if you're familiar with any, but marketing is typically not their strong suit. So, having a creative bone in your body that understands that side of the business, the insurance, the way they work, the way they need to bill their patients and build a practice is something that I've come to learn over the years.
So share how you homeschooled. You mentioned how you had a babysitter, but you also did the homeschooling, and then you had to be at the surgeon's office. Can you just go do like a mini day in the life when you had to, that's
Oh,
crazy.
yes, it was.
Homeschooling on top of, that's like the distance learning thing, but you're doing the entire
Yeah. But
teaching.
what I learned through all of that is that I think teachers, they give little breaks in between lessons. If you kind of
Yes.
hammer it all out where, I had about 12 worksheets a day, right? In this workbook that Barnes and Noble so graciously gives to you, right? As this, here's grade 1, here's grade 2. And it's the complete, I don't know if you've seen that workbook, but
Yeah,
they have
the
all of them.
complete curriculum.
Yes. So that is all I had to use because first grade doesn't have testing. So they didn't really have a strategy. I didn't know what strategy. I just said, maybe I'll find something. So I would go through each section of each subject and make sure that we kind of progressed a little bit in each side. But, teachers have recess and lunch and breaks and having to flip back through to subjects. So it was easier to say, I'd wake up, get him ready for the sitter between 7 and 3. He would be there. He would have his own time to unwind and play because her children were in school. So by the time they were coming home, I would go pick him up after work, after I don't know how many cases and running around equipment and doing whatever I had to do between 7 and 3. That was when I had to complete my work.
Because you had a full-time job and then you had to put on the teacher's hat. Yeah. So did you still do the you time? You know how you said your habitual routine? Did you still make time for you?
No. Well, actually, I take that back. If we got our lessons finished between 3 and 5, 3 and 6, I have been always, and my son has grown up in kids club at a gym. Since he was 1.5 years old and could go into kids club, I was a 24-hour fitness junkie. I was always there. I loved Zumba I've lost about 100 pounds over the years from when he was born to now. And I've tried to keep it off, but I started with Zumba. I ate better. I would go to kickboxing and then I joined UFC. And then he went to the kids club at UFC. And so now it's this progression of, but I always tried to fit fitness in. And he understands now how important exercise and fitness and eating well and balanced is. Because I've always put that in my lifestyle, regardless of what time I got to it.
So you're a role model then.
Yeah, it used to be in the afternoon and now it's in the morning. But he knows this is mommy's exercise time. I'll just do my own thing.
Well, if you carve it into your schedule, he knows. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing, because sometimes the kids interrupt and then the mom stops and feels like she has to tend to the kids. And then when your tank is empty, it's harder to even survive.
I would have to say that's how I succeeded. I have to be a little selfish. And I know people don't like to hear that, but it's a necessity.
Yes.
You have to take 20 to 30 minutes for yourself. And even if you have to say, I'm sorry, honey, I'm working right now. Give me 5 minutes. It used to be more vicious than that. Now I'm just saying, you need to understand you're older, it used to be yelling and screaming. And I'm like, you know what? It's not working. And then I could be on the phone and be extremely bipolar. I'm talking very nicely to the client and yelling off to the side at the child, right? We've seen the commercials.
Yes.
It's a very real life problem. So eventually it's just, close the door, here's my time. And they understand that after a while. And when I used to have, the stepdaughter and the son, they would fight and they would squabble. And I'd say, you know what? Problem solving, people. Work it out on your own. But yeah.
Good. So you didn't have to play referee. And I think that's the key, though, to creating children who are problem solvers, because if you step in each time and solve it.
Yeah. You're not teaching them anything.
No.
They don't really understand that I will tell my son, you need to try at least 3 times before you come to me. Because you're not going to learn anything if I do it all for you. And he gets frustrated and he, stomps around. I'm like, did you try? Well, just once. Well, you got 2 more times, son, try it again. So
Wow, I love that.
he understands that there is a time where it's important.
So
Yeah.
does he eventually
Yeah.
figure it out
So that I've
sometimes?
had to put that into play.
Does he
He does.
eventually figure it
And then he's
out
all
during?
proud.
Yes.
Yes. And then he's got this pride in him and this little glow,
Yeah.
right? And you're like, see, if I had done that for you, you would have never known what's possible. So I'm trying to take all these very adult lessons and put them into this very small child really early. It's,
That's
I don't
great
know.
though, especially as a 9-year-old. I mean, sometimes you've seen 16-year-olds and like, wait a minute, how do I pack a lunch, or what do I do, especially
Yes.
since they're home? So explain,
Yeah.
like right now, what's your schedule with the distance learning? You talk about asynchronous. Can you
Yeah.
explain to people who don't
Asynchronous.
know what
It's a
asynchronous
lovely word.
is?
I
Yeah.
had to look up that word actually. I was like, what is this learning style? So we are lucky enough to be in a school that has gone back physically 4 days a week. So, which honestly, people, some people are not too comfortable with that yet. I'm like, please, God, let them go back. But, it's better for them. They like being around kids. They like the social aspect of it. Even if there's no recess, even if they're behind plexiglass, they feel like they're in a hockey rink. It's still something, right?
Yes.
So Monday is still this distance asynchronous kind of a catch up day, which is a blessing when you think about it. Because you're like, oh, I don't want to do homework over the weekend. I don't want to fight all day long. So Monday, I was graciously blessed with this wonderful early education. She used to work for the YMCA at the A Plus program. She actually quit her job to stay with us as a full-time kiddo.
Wow.
That is some loyalty there. I don't know about you, but she was with even my oldest stepson. She was an A+ coordinator when he went to Makakilo Elementary. So she watched him grow up. And then now she's got the littlest ones. So she watched the 9 and the 8-year-old after school during the COVID pandemic, where she lost all of her hours because there was no after school program. So then it came down to, are we going back? Are we not? Because she goes back and forth between two schools. She decided she would stick with us full time.
Wow.
So I drop him off every Monday. I pick him up Monday afternoon. We're good. Everything's done. It's beautiful. I have not touched school books in about 6 months. Then Tuesday through Friday, she goes and picks him up after school because A+ is still very confined. I was not able to get an application in early enough. I was stressing out about what to do after school. And that was where she was just like, you know what, I'll handle it. So she picks him up every
Wow. So she does
afternoon.
the after school too.
She does the after school too. And honestly, that's the only way I've been able to get through any of this school time, from when he was in preschool through now, are the schools and the support. And my sister, who's not even my sister, you get close to people and you build your village and you realize that they're there to call upon them. And I would have never been able to do the jobs I have, progress the way I have in my career without this structure, because it is certainly not on me in the slightest.
So it's asking for
So,
help then. Do you encourage mothers to ask for help and, like you said, build their own little tribe, village, so that they don't
yeah.
have to feel like they're alone, especially if you're a single mom and you feel the
Yes.
need to, I don't want to ask, I don't want to, be a burden on anyone.
That was a maturity on my part. I was not going to
Wow.
ask for help. That was a lesson I had to, when I did get divorced and I was a single mom for 2 years, it's, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'll ever be able to rely on someone. Thank goodness I can. I'm not a single mom anymore. I don't like to consider it that. We are living together and he's a big help. So I got extremely lucky finding this man because he loves my son like he was his own, just like I love his kids. So it's a beautiful family now, but I have to stop and I have to say, I cannot do it all. Because if I
Yes.
do, you can feel the stress in the house. It makes everything worse. There's more arguing and it's not a good environment. But it took a while to be able to say, and it's not weakness, right? Because
It's
you think
not.
when you're in this power position that it's weakness. But I've had to start asking for help here. When you can start apologizing and asking for help and understanding you don't know everything, you become an adult, right?
Right. And it's not that you're incompetent, but it takes
Right.
courage to say, can you just share real quick? I know I have a really busy day, that when your son was first born and his father was
Yeah.
deployed, you were
Yes.
mentioning that, I mean, you have this little baby
Yeah.
And what did you do? I mean, I'm so glad you did that because you had to enlist help from far away.
Yes. So the little baby, yeah, I didn't even have any racked up babysitting hours. It was pretty much me and that was it. And I've never really taken care of a child. And thank goodness it was not deployment overseas. It was deployment neighbor island, but it was 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks, he was barely even in the hospital with me. I was cleaning the hospital room, trying to get ready for this nesting period of not knowing what to do. So the house stayed very clean, but I had to call my mother. She was in North Carolina. This is 6,000 miles away. And I'm like, please get on a plane tonight. Please. He won't stop crying. He won't sleep. I don't know what's going on. It's that realization that now you got to learn. You have no choice. They need you for every single little thing and you can't just drop him off. I keep trying to drop him off at the fire station. He's a little old right now, but you just got to keep trying and you're going to fail and it's going to suck, but you just got to keep going. And every day is a different lesson. He slept eventually. See, I'm still drained, but eventually he slept, eventually he ate, and now he's still picky, but he'll try new things if uncle asks him to. So they do grow up. They do, thrive and they learn while you're not even teaching them.
Exactly. And isn't that the best thing though,
That's
knowing that,
crazy.
because I used to think, am I damaging them? Our moms, all around the world
Yeah.
are thinking, what did I do to create, during
This
those,
monster.
yeah, the monster. You think, wait a
Yes.
minute, what did I
Yeah.
do? Is it a curse? But when you realize that
No.
it's your natural development, they are there to push your buttons and it doesn't make them evil.
Yeah.
I used to think, oh my gosh, I created, what did I do?
No. But the best part is also, and I've noticed he'll repeat things that I just say all the time.
Yes.
Just little things. And I'm like, oh, where did I ever say that to you? No, but you say that to uncle. No, but you say that to Kayla. No, but it's in the environment. So if you live right and you embody, like, that's why I don't feel bad taking some time for me, because he now sees if he takes time for himself, it's not a bad thing.
Yes.
So you're teaching every minute of every day. So I had to stop the yelling, had to stop the stress, had to stop all these things that built up and just made the environment harder. Right. And it became this lesson that I didn't even know I was teaching. So.
Wow. So as we close, what is one thing that, when you're about to like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose it, I think I'm going to yell. Is there something that you tell yourself? Because I mean,
I
we
probably
all,
do yell.
we all occasionally, we will resort to the yelling. But if you do, I've
Yeah.
read that 90 seconds, you have 90 seconds before, once you go onto that path, you can't shut it off because you're adrenaline, you're there. So what do you
Yes.
do? Deep breathe. What's your secret to, okay, I'm not going to explode. I'm going to, what's
Yeah.
your,
So we have a story house, thank goodness. So it gives us the separation physically. And I will tell him, mommy needs a timeout. I will literally go downstairs or go upstairs or just separate physically. And then he has time to calm down. I have time to calm down. It doesn't take long, but then if you go in with a clearer head of why you want something done, typically you can reason with a 9-year-old. Now, when they're 3 and 4, it's a little bit different. But now I've got the ability to reason and say, hey, I'm not asking too much, as long as the tone is better. I think the other party, this works even for adults that
oh
are
yeah,
going
the
to,
tone is everything, isn't
right?
it?
And you learn that also when you realize that maybe your relationship failed and you're going to grow to another one. It's
Yes.
very much understanding the other person. But as I grow to understand my son, as I grow to understand, the rest of the family I've created, everyone's different, but I do physically need to separate and I do need to breathe for a few seconds before I go back and say, okay, let's try this again. So,
But that physical
yeah,
distance is everything, don't you think?
it's putting yourself in timeout. If you can
Yeah.
do it to your kids, you can do it to yourself.
I
So,
love it. I love
yep,
it. Well,
that's
thank
my
you
best
so
advice.
much. I know you're really, really busy.
Thank you.
Meant
It was
a
lovely
lot
to
to
see
me
you.
because I just met you towards the end of last year, and
Yeah.
thank you so much for helping me promote Mama's Gotta Let Go and giving me the opportunity to do the mom moments. How do people reach you? You're on Instagram, and if they want to find out more
I am on
about you.
a form of social media. I think that's also half hour of my mornings, but just checking all of my channels. But yes, Salem Media Group. I am the sales manager here for 5 radio stations, and Instagram, Facebook, it's at G Crabtree 42, I believe, is my handle, if that's what you call it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations on your book. I'm very proud
Thank
of
you so much. This is so much fun, and we will keep in touch.
Okay, very
Okay,
good.
thanks.
Aloha.
Bye.